At the Navy's first LGBT Pride event on the West Coast at North Island, my guest, retired Army Colonel Sherry Swokowski, delivered the keynote address. She's considered the highest-ranking transgender military veteran. But during her 34 years in the military, she kept her gender identity to herself. Sherry, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
What was it like to serve in the Army and keep such a fundamental part of your identity a secret?
It was very difficult. Being an infantry officer, or infantry person, is hard enough the way it is. But I lived the Army values, and part of that was putting the organization ahead of personal needs and interests. So I deeply suppressed it in order to be the best person I could, the best leader I could, to take care of my soldiers.
And what was that like as you proceeded through the military, keeping that attitude and maintaining that attitude?
It was difficult, and although I suppressed it for some 2 or 3 decades, it was interrupted by very brief and infrequent interludes of being authentic, where I would actually go out, purchase clothing, dress to be my authentic self, and of course then the guilt would set in and everything would be purged until the next time. And I knew there would be a next time.
That must have taken just a tremendous amount of self-control.
It did, and I think I was able to work through it because of my military training and leadership capabilities.
Now, you decided to make your transition after you retired, and you became a military contractor, and what happened at that point?
Well, I was a contractor at the Army's Force Management School at Fort Belvoir, a lead course instructor, and decided to transition. Informed the folks at the schoolhouse that I was going to transition when I came back. And when I came back, met with the director of Sherry for the first time. First sentence out of his mouth was, "Thanks for coming back to help us with this course." And the next sentence was, "We've already hired your replacement."
My goodness. What is the current military policy regarding gay and transgendered people?
Well, as you know, the gay and lesbian community can serve openly now since the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell in December of 2010. But unfortunately, that doesn't pertain to the transgender troops. So it's estimated there's 15,000 plus across the Army, Navy, Marine Corps, and Air Force in both the active and reserve components that are still out there and still identify as transgender. But if they came out, they face discharge and the loss of their job.
What does someone's gender identity have to do with their ability to serve in the armed forces?
It really has very little. I often look back at my own experience and wonder how much better a person, how much better an NCO and an officer I could have been had I been allowed to transition while on active duty. Because there's nothing like being authentic. It's a requirement. You don't really work up to your full potential if you're not authentic, because you always have that other part of you that's out there.
What do you think would be the result of a change in military policy regarding transgendered folks?
I don't think there would be much change. I think it would be very similar to when gays and lesbians and bisexuals can serve openly. Took a little bit of education to trickle down through the ranks, but it was done well. And I think the same thing can be accomplished for the transgender troops that are out there.
What would it take to change the current policy?
What it's going to take is for the Secretary of Defense to get everybody on board and do this. The Army and the Air Force have already made inroads. They're trying to take care of their transgender soldiers and airmen in the field, but the Navy and Marine Corps have yet to do that. So it's similar to what happened during the process that Don't Ask, Don't Tell was repealed.
And finally, how big an ordeal would it be, do you think, to make that change that you're looking for?
I don't think it's an overburdening amount that would change. It's going to take some education and some information going out to everybody to understand that being transgender is a medical issue deserving of treatment.
Okay, retired Army Colonel Sherry Swokowski, thanks very much.
Thanks for having me.